European Union announcing it'll impose up to 38% tariffs on electric vehicle imports coming from China. That's expected to start on July 4th. Now, this, of course, coming a month after the U.S. quadrupled its tariffs on Chinese EVs to 100%. We spoke to a lot of analysts at the time who said the U.S. tariffs wouldn't have a huge impact on China's EV sales since there are no Chinese EVs here in the States. But what about these new EU duties? What impact could that have? Joining us to discuss, we have our very own Praz Subramanian. Praz, that's the key question I want to ask you about. How big of a headwind is it to see these tariffs imposed by the EU, given that there are Chinese EV sales happening in Europe right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you could say that the EC, the European Commission, are kind of dropping the hammer here. I mean, 38.1% at the high mark was more than what was expected. I think there was a 25% or so tariff duty was expected. So, looking across, it's actually, the EC had discussions with Chinese officials about this, and they came to these sort of a staggered policy here. So for instance, for BYD cars, it would be a 17.4% tariff. For Geely cars, a 20% tariff. But then on SAIC, for instance, 38.1. And if an automaker did not cooperate with the EC on their investigation, they were all stuck at a 38.1%. Others who cooperated, a 21% tariff. So you see this kind of staggered approach here, all going into effect July 4th. Now, the EC says that they can still have ongoing discussion with Chinese officials, and they can sort of potentially lower that or adjust these tariffs. But one interesting automaker, Tesla, petitioned for a kind of an individual rate for their cars coming from China, so they're going to do that. But anyway, more pain here, I think, for Chinese EVs in the country, especially when you consider the fact that other European automakers were saying, hey, if you do this, our cars in China are going to get directly tariffed again. So it's kind of like an escalation here.